Good morning, dear children. Welcome back. I am Sitara, your social science teacher. In today's session, we are going to continue our learning process of Class 6, Term 2, Unit 2 in History, Great Thinkers and New Faiths. This is part 1 of the video series. Come, dear children, let us learn. Before going into the details of today's lesson, let us understand what are we going to learn in this unit. We will try to learn the causes for the rise of new faiths in the 6th century BC. We'll try to have knowledge in the teachings of Mahavira and Buddha. To know the similarities and dissimilarities between Jainism and Buddhism, two religions. To understand the differences between Hinayana and Mahayana Buddhism, and to know the influence of Jainism and Buddhism in Tamil Nadu. So we will learn about all these things in this unit. Come, dears. Before going into the details of the lesson, let me give you a small introduction. Dear children, the 6th century BC is regarded as an important epoch of world history. It is an important period. The time before the century is described as prehistoric period. From 6th century, historical evidences came to exist. It was in the 6th century BC that there lived in India the founders of two great religions of mankind. They were Mahavira Jina and Gautama Buddha, the founders of Jainism and Buddhism. Even though the Jains and Buddhist literature were religious in character, they contain much information about the political and social conditions of that time. History could be written from those literary sources. It was the rise of Jainism and Buddhism which made the 6th century BC great and glorious. It was from that century that the political condition of ancient India began to take a clear shape. Several kingdoms came to exist at that time. Attempts were also made to build bigger kingdoms by uniting larger areas of the country. That added importance to the 6th century. The 6th century also saw great unrest in the mind of men. It was like a spiritual and religious awakening in the Indian society for newness and reforms. Dear children, the 6th century BC is regarded as an important period in the history of ancient India. As a landmark period in the intellectual and spiritual development in India, historian Will Durant has rightly called it the shower of stars. So Durant, a historian, has called it shower of stars. The sources, literary sources are Anga's Jain text, Tripitakas and Jatakas, the Buddhist text. So the literary sources include Jain text called as Angas and the Buddhist text called as Tripitakas and Jatakas. Now, dear children, let us learn the causes for the rise of intellectual awakening and the birth of Buddhism and Jainism. Dears, there were several reasons for the rise of new intellectual awakening. Some of the exploitative practices that paved way for new faiths include the complex rituals and sacrifices advocated in the later Vedic period. So there were a number of rituals which were very complex and a number of sacrifices that were in practice during the later Vedic period. The next one is the expensive sacrificial ceremonies. So the sacrifices or sacrificial ceremonies were very expensive. It was not affordable for the common people. It was very expensive. Superstitious beliefs. Learn the word superstitious. S-U-P-E-R-S-T-I-T-I-O-U-S. Superstitious is having a blind beliefs and practices that confused the common man. So the practices which were blindly followed confused the normal people or common people, the laymen. Upanishads taught as alternative to sacrificial rites were too philosophical, which a lay person could not understand. So the Upanishads were taught instead of the sacrificial rites. So, and it was very complicated. It was too philosophical, too out of the way for the normal person, layman, who was a normal man. Slavery, caste system, gender discrimination also contributed to the new awakening. So, in other than that, there was slavery that was in practice, there was caste systems, untouchability, and gender discrimination. Men and women were not considered equal. So, all these things also contributed to the new awakening. Now, let us learn about the origin of Jainism. Jainism, dear children, is one of the world's oldest living religions. Which is one of the oldest living religion? It is Jainism. Jainism grounds itself in 24 Tirthankaras. So the basis of Jainism is the 24 Tirthankaras. A Tirthankara is the one who revealed religious truth at different times. So there are a person who is revealing the truth at different times. They are called as Tirthankaras. The first Tirthankara was Rishabha. Who was the first Tirthankara? It was Rishabha. And the last one was Mahavira. So the last Tirthankara was Mahavira. The first one was Rishabha and the last one was Mahavira. Jainism gained prominence under the aegis of Mahavira during the 6th century BC. And Jainism got its importance or came into limelight under the head of Mahavira, under the aegis of Mahavira, and it was during the 6th century. The original name was Vardhamana, Vardhamana, Vardhamana. The place of birth was Kundagrama near Vaishali, Bihar. Kundagrama. His parents were Siddharth and Trishala. Siddharth and Trishala were the parents. The place of birth was Pavapuri, Bihar. Pavapuri in Bihar was his place of birth. The word Jain derives from the Sanskrit word Jina, which means conquering self and external world. What you see on the picture is a Jain symbol that was agreed by all Jain sects in 1974. You have got the swastika and the hand with the wheel on the palm symbolizes ahimsa in Jainism. Dear children, Mahavira, the great hero, Vardhamana meaning prosperous. Vardhamana means prosperous, was a Kshatriya prince. He was a warrior. However, at the age of 30, he renounced his princely status to adopt an ascetic life. So he left his princely status, he renounced it, and he adopted an ascetic life, that is, the life of a sage. He undertook intense meditation. He was taking meditation, he was doing meditation very intensely. After 12 and a half years of rigorous penance is the punishment that you give yourself, which is marking an expression of repentance. You repent on what you have done, something you have done, and you give yourself some punishment. So he gave himself punishment for 12 and a half years. Vardhamana attained omniscience or supreme knowledge known as Kevala. Omniscience, Omniscience. Omniscience is the ability to know everything or be infinitely wise. That is, omniscience means the state of knowing everything. The supreme knowledge or omniscience was known as Kevala, Kevala, Kevala. Yes, thereafter he became Jina, meaning one who conquered worldly pleasure and attachment. So after that, after great penance, he attained omniscience and then he became a Jina, the one who has conquered worldly pleasures and attachment. His followers are called Jains. The followers of Jina are called as Jains. Mahavira reviewed the ancient Shramanic tradition and came up with new doctrines. So he reviewed the ancient religious traditions and after that he came up with new practices. Therefore, he is believed to be the real founder of Jainism. So, he is considered as a real founder of Jainism because he reviewed the traditions and came up with new doctrines, new code of conduct. That's why he is called as a real founder of Jainism. Now, let us learn the unique teachings of Jainism. Jainism denies God as a creator of universe. Jains don't consider God as the creator of universe. There is no God for them. Basic philosophy of Jainism is ahimsa or non-violence. The Jains follow the principle of ahimsa, ahimsa, ahimsa. We know this term because we have heard it from Gandhiji, who followed the path of ahimsa to attain our freedom. So same thing. So it is absorbed, it is derived from the Jain principles. They believe in the philosophy of ahimsa or non-violence. The ultimate aim of Jainism is attaining moksha or ending the cycle of birth, death, rebirth. So the Jains aim at attaining moksha, or they put an end to the cycle of birth, death, rebirth cycle. Jains reject the belief in last judgment. They don't believe in last judgment. That is, God, our supreme creator, will come and there will be a day when we are given hell or heaven based on our actions, where God, a supreme being, decides who goes to hell or heaven. So they don't believe in last judgment. Jainism advocates that the goodness or quality of one's life is determined by one's karma. The karma is determining their quality of life or goodness. Our karma determines our quality of life or our goodness. So for Jains, there are no God or creator of universe, and they believe in the principles of ahimsa. Now let us understand what is karma. Karma is the belief that a person's action in this life determine the quality of his or her later part of the current life and the next incarnation. That is, whatever you do now determines your quality of life in this year, this life, or in the next birth you are taking, next incarnation. Incarnation is rebirth. And moksha is the liberation from the cycle of birth and death. You attain freedom or liberty from the cycle of birth and death. Now let us learn about the three ratnas or three jewels. Mahavira exhorted the threefold path for the attainment of moksha and for the liberation from karma. Exhort, E-X-H-O-R-T, exhort. The meaning is to strongly encourage or urge to do something. So he urged the threefold path, three-way path for the attainment of moksha. To get moksha, there is a threefold path, and to liberate from the karma. And they are right faith, right knowledge, and right action, or right conduct. So right faith, right knowledge, and right action are the three ratnas or three jewels exhorted by Mahavira, advocated by Mahavira. Dear children, now let us learn the Jain code of conduct. What was the rules to be followed? Mahavira asked his followers to live a virtuous life. The followers of Jainism were supposed to do a virtuous life. To lead a life of virtues is called as a virtuous life. To be honest, respectful, courageous, forgiving, and kind. That is, do the right thing and don't follow your heart instincts and urges. In order to live a life filled with sound morals, he preached 5 major principles to follow. To lead a virtuous life, there were 5 major principles. They are ahimsa. The first one is ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, and brahmacharya. Ahimsa, A-H-I-M-S-A. Ahimsa is not to injure any living beings. Next is satya, that is to speak truth, always say truth. Asteya, A-S-T-E-Y, asteya is not to steal, you should not steal. Aparigraha, 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 Aparigraha is not to own property. We are not supposed to own property. Brahmacharya, Brahmacharya, Brahmacharya is celibacy, to follow a life of a sage, not to marry. Dear children, now let us learn about the two groups or sect of Jainism. They are Digambaras and Svetambaras. Digambaras and Svetambaras. Digambaras are orthodox and conservative followers. They are very orthodox. They follow the principles correctly to the point. The monks of Digambara sect do not wear any clothing and they live naked. They don't use any clothes. They are forbidden to have any kind of possession. They won't own anything. They will not have anything with them. Digambaras believe that women cannot achieve nirvana or liberation directly. They say that women cannot attain nirvana, that is liberation. Direct method, they cannot attain freedom or liberation. Now let us learn about the Svetamparas. The Svetamparas are considered progressive. Compared to the Digambaras, they are progressive. Monks of Svetampara sect wear white robes. You can see them in white cloths. They are permitted to have Rajoharana, that is a broom with woolen threads, a begging bowl and a book. They carry a broom with wooden threads and a begging bowl and a book. Svetamparas believe that women are equally capable of achieving liberation as men. They don't consider women as not capable of attaining moksha, but they are equally capable of achieving liberation. Dear children, Gautama Swami, a chief disciple of Mahavira, compiled the teachings of Mahavira and called it Agama Siddhanta, Agamadhantha, Agama Siddhanta. It was written by Gautama Swami. He was a disciple of Mahavira. Now let us learn the reasons for the spread of Jainism. What caused the spread of Jainism in India? The following are the main reasons for the wide acceptance of Jainism in India. The first one was the use of people's language. Earlier they used to communicate in Sanskrit. All the religious teachings were in Sanskrit, but Jains used the people's language, local language. Intelligible teachings. Their teachings were, people were able to understand what they were teaching. They were able to understand it very well. Support from rulers and traders. They had support from the various rulers as well as traders. Perseverance of Jain monks. They were very, very patient in getting the results. So that was a reason of spread of Jainism. Let us learn about the influence of Jainism or Samanam in Tamil Nadu. What influence Jains had on Tamil people. In ancient Tamil literature, Jainism is referred to as Samanam. So you refer the Jainism as Samanam in ancient Tamil literature. Samanam, Samanam. There is a Samanar hill or a Samanar Malai in Keelakuyilkudi village, 15 kilometers away from Madurai. You can find a Samanar hill or Samanar Malai at Keelakuyilkudi village. The images of Tirthankaras created by Jain monks are found in the hill. You can see the picture there. You can see the images of Tirthankaras. There are 24 Tirthankaras with the Mahavira being the last one. You can find the images there. It is a protected monument of Archaeological Survey of India. That is considered as a monument, a protected monument. There is another place where there is influence of Jains. It is called as Arittapatti. Arittapatti. Arittapatti is just a small village 25 kilometers from Madurai. On one side of Kalinjamalai hill, there are Jain caves called Pandavar Padukai. There are caves called as Pandavar Padukai. Pandavar Padukai is a bed of Jain saints. They are the bed of Jain saints. There is a reference to Arovar Palli, place of living for Jain monks in Manimekalai. So in Manimekalai, you can find the reference to Arovar Palli, where Jains used to live. So children, 15 kilometers from Madurai, there is a place called as Samanar Hill, and you can find the images of Tirthankaras there. And you can find Pandavar Padukai in Arittapatti, which is a small village 25 kilometers from Madurai. And also there is a reference to Arovar Palli, which is a place where Jain monks used to live. Not only in Manimekalai, there is reference to Jainism in Silappatikaram also. According to Silappatikaram, when Kovalan and Kannagi were on their way to Madurai, Gaundi Adigal, a female Jain monk, blessed the couple and accompanied them. There is a reference to in Silappatikaram about a female Jain monk called as Gaundi Adigal. Puhar, Urayur, Madurai, Vanchi or Karavur, Kanchi all had Jain monasteries. You can find Jain monasteries in Puhar, Urayur, Madurai, Vanchi or Karavur as well as in Kanchi. Jina Kanchi, Tiruppurakundram, a village in Kanchipuram, has two ancient Jain temples. This village was once called as Jina Kanchi. Jina refers to the Jains. So Jina Kanchi is the old name for Tiruppurakundram. It was also called as Jina Kanchi because of the presence of Jain monks there. In the picture you can find the cave drawings at Tiruppurakundram, Sithan Vasal as well as Chittaramalai temple. You can see the Jain monks and how they are meditating there. Before winding up today's session, let us have a recap of what we learned. Dear children, in this session we discussed about Jainism. The 6th century BC is regarded as an important period in the history of ancient India, as the historian Will Durant has rightly called it the shower of stars. The literary sources include Jain texts called as Angas and Buddhist texts called as Tripadakas and Jatakas. Jainism is one of the oldest living religions. Its ground itself in 24 Tirthankaras. A Tirthankara is one who revealed religious truth at different times. The first one was Rishabha and the last one Mahavira. We also learned about the unique teachings of Jainism, which denies God as a creator of universe. We also learned about three Ratnas or three jewels: right faith, right knowledge and right action. The Jain code of conduct was Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Aparigraha and Brahmacharya. Jainism was split into two sects called as Digambaras, who were orthodox and conservative followers, and Svetambaras, who were progressive. The influence of Jainism or Samanam in Tamil Nadu can be seen in the reference to the Samanar Hill or Samanar Malai at Keelkuyilkudi village from 15 kilometers from Madurai. You can find the images of Tirthankaras there. And in Arittapatti, a village which is 25 kilometers from Madurai, you can find Jain caves called as Pandavar Padukai, which are bed of Jain saints. And there is a reference to Arovar Palli, place of living for Jain monks in Manimekalai. You can also find reference for Jain monks in Silappatikaram. Tiruppatrikundram, a village in Kanchipuram, was called as Jina Kanchi. Dear children, in the next session we will discuss about Buddhism. Time for worksheet number 1. Answer the following. Question number 1. Who was the first Tirthankara of Jainism? Who was the first Tirthankara of Jainism? Question number 2. How many Tirthankaras were there in Jainism? How many Tirthankaras were there in Jainism? Question number 3. The doctrine of Mahavira is called dash. The doctrine of Mahavira is called dash. Question number 4. What are the three Ratnas or three jewels of Jainism? What are the three Ratnas or three jewels of Jainism? Question number 5. What are the 5 important rules of conduct in Jainism? What are the 5 important rules of conduct in Jainism? That's all for today's session, my dear children. Thank you for watching. For more videos, please subscribe our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SamuchirKalviGuide. Thank you. Stay blessed. That's all for today's session, my dear children. Thank you for watching. For more videos, please subscribe our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SamuchirKalviGuide. Thank you. Stay blessed.